Holy crap, everybody, we're finally here. Our first game of our first series. VGJ Storm versus Immortals. We had a bit of a delay because there's so much goddamn North American Dota going on in all these various qualifiers all at once that we had to wait for some other tournament matches to conclude before we could actually get into this game. So this is Immortals versus VGJ Storm. We saw that on Tuesday, which is a bit of a rematch. Draskell, that was a pretty fun series, wasn't it? At least that first game was a pretty close one.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I mean, I think that VGJ Storm had some very interesting draft ideas. Like we spoke, I think, in both games about how they kind of don't really care about having that much wave clear, or they have like one hero that can spam waves and everything else is just all about fighting. And we saw the game with Visage 747 playing at mid, how kind of potent it looked. I think they ultimately ended up getting 2-0'd, but one of the games was pretty close at least.
Now, this is currently the final match of the groups alongside Dire versus Iceberg, which I believe is also being casted somewhere, I think by Breaky CPK. Yeah, those are the two final matches of this group. And then we will have our playoffs determined, and we're going to do the first round of the playoffs today. I have no idea what's going to happen with the rest of the series, or rather with the rest of the playoffs, and whether or not those are going to be today, this week, this month. No clue, honestly, because the schedule is super busy. I wouldn't be surprised if we had a couple-day delay before we finished off the rest of the PGL closed North American qualifier. So we get into our first game. The draft is already looking a little icky. You got a Venomancer first pick on one side, and an Ancient Apparition is actually going to be sneaking through for once. Seemed like that was one of the most banned support heroes alongside the Lich.
Did we see a first phase that much, though? I kind of feel like AA is always like a second phase ban, because there's a lot of other heroes that I would probably prioritize higher, like Furion for sure. And if you know that you're playing against a team that has experience with IO, I think that's kind of a no-brainer too in the first as well. But it's a nice kind of don't pick Necrophos hero. It's probably one of the strongest, if not like the strongest counter to how the hero functions, besides like Nyx or Pugna or sometimes even Bat Riders and stuff like that. But I definitely like the hero a lot, just because I feel like he gives you more lane presence than a lot of people give him credit for, especially in situations where you might be in like a 2v1. You know, Icy, Chilling Touch rather, is like really good for being able to just zone out an offlaner if you ever get that nice 1v2.
It seems like VGJ Storm, I don't know, it's kind of an interesting tactic. I just naturally assumed one side was going to get Venomancer, the other side was going to get Necrophos, and we were just going to kind of have those top, I guess those are kind of like the tier 1 cores right now, kind of traded back and forth between these two teams. But VGJ Storm actually neglect the Necrophos entirely and kind of prevent Immortals from getting it as well with the Ancient Apparition pickup. And instead go for the Earthshaker, a hero who was kind of neglected in our previous series. We didn't really see a whole lot of either support or offlane Earthshaker. But now we're going to have like a nice hard initiator. In your mind, looking back on that series, what would you say VGJ Storm needed to change in order to win that series against Immortals in the first half?
I don't know. I feel like it was just how they assessed their strength given the state of the game. Like after watching how they played the Doom draft with the Visage and all that other stuff, like the Lich Doom, I think that they have some very good ideas about how to play the game. It's just when you're a new team, and I don't know how many voices they really have going on at the same time during the game itself, but you kind of need the one voice saying, okay, we're either strong enough to do this right now or we're not. And I think that's really what kind of set them off when they were playing against Immortals, is just how good they defended the high ground. When VGJ Storm were pushing in, they had like that 15k lead, and they just kept banging their head against that tier 3, and it ultimately lost them the game. And otherwise, situation where I feel if they had just been a little bit more patient, they would have won quite handedly. So to me, it's not about the draft, it's not about their ideas, it's just recognize when you can and cannot do something within the game, which is obviously difficult, but maybe just play it even a little bit more safe. And I think that they'll do very well.
Well, it does seem like our draft is going to be oriented to something that's, I would almost say, easier when it comes to recognizing your timings, because we've just got a lot of team fights so far. Ancient Apparition, then Earthshaker and Darkseer together. That is a big wombo combo of team fight there. The Vacuum, Echo Slam, Wall of Replica, all that jazz. So for me, it seems like with the way they're kind of setting this up, their timing is going to be based entirely around the cooldowns of some of those ultimates. Now we have the Lycan, who's another hero that's pretty reliant on timing, as it were, to be able to fight, as kind of needs that shapeshift to be an effective core. Meanwhile, Mortals picking up the Venomancer, Ninetales, or Oracle. So all pretty early game, and I would say relatively laning focused, especially with that Oracle pickup, who's not the best laning support, but is a direct counter to the Darkseer's presence in the lane.
Yeah, I like the Oracle just against Darkseer personally. Against Ancient Apparition, I'm kind of torn. On the one hand, you have the Fate's Edict, which can stop like magical damage, but on the other side of it, you can't heal people while the Ancient Apparition Ice Blast is on you. So in a way, they kind of counter each other, I guess. Ultimately, though, it's like you said, it's all about the lanes. I do think that even though VTJ Storm are slightly cooldown reliant, with the Shapeshift and the A having Ice Blast and Echo Slam, it's a pretty easy thing to play. Like, I don't look at their team and I see it like a super high execution cap where they have to perfectly use all of their abilities, get like a vac wall into an Echo, even though the possibility's there. I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah. Yeah, I could definitely see that. It's just because you have so many big team fight ultimates, it's like you don't need to hit that 5-man anything. You know, you get a 1-man Echo Slam, a 2-man Vacuum, and a 2-man Ice Blast, and you're probably going to win that fight. Well, maybe, because it is looking like Immortals are going to put kind of all their eggs on one big carry, which is going to be our Sven. So the Oracle-Sven combination, which is probably one of the better counters to the Lycan right now, right? We've seen that plenty of times leading up into TI, right? Whenever the Lycan Nightstalker duo would appear, someone would pick up Sven just because, hey, you've got natural armor, you've got a heavy amount of physical damage, one of the few heroes that is down to just stand and fight. And Lycan's mobility doesn't really become much of a factor if you can't actually fight a hero.
Yeah, the Warcry is, I would even say, more effective for his teammates than it is for him. Most of the time, the Lycan's not going to look at the Sven and say, oh, I want to attack you. He wants to run to the squishy backline. You know, he wants to get those quick kills on the supports. But that Warcry makes it so annoying. I think most of the time we see Lycans nowadays just buy Diffusal Blades against Sven, just so you don't have to worry about that, or like Ghost Scepters, or sometimes even Glimmer. If you're fast enough, you can purge that too. So we'll see how the itemization progresses on this hero. I think it's a very interesting matchup, but I do kind of favor the Sven, just in the sense that it forces a Lycan to do stuff he doesn't want to do.
And on Immortals side, we're looking at this Venomancer. It's probably an offlane Veno, right? We're saving our mid for last pick for both sides.
I think it's pretty flexible, right? I don't know if it's like something that QO or MP want to bring to that mid lane, because they are a bit flexible on what lanes they go to. But I mean, I could very easily see them just last picking something else if they really want to. If they feel comfortable sending the Veno mid, they could just save their off lane for now. But I don't really know like what impactful hero they're gonna see, because the last ban Enigma, that makes me think the VTJ Storm are expecting it to be a mid Veno.
Yeah, that was one of the heroes that Immortals was running in a series that they were just playing in against, I believe, Iceberg. And they did end up winning that series with a nice push lineup, Death Prophet push lineup, where it kind of looked like the same sort of thing that we've been seeing from Immortals, which is, hey, just try and have some pretty strong lanes and look to take those objectives. And it looked, again, a bit reminiscent of the old MVP style, where they kind of hit you fast and furious when they see a small opening, and they're willing to push for that extra marker that some other teams wouldn't. Punk is going to be our last pick, so still has that flexibility. We could have Punk off lane, Venomancer mid. Just kind of depends on what our final pickup here is for VGJ Storm. Draskell, do you have any ideas? It can't be something too late game oriented, right? They have both a Darkseer and a Lycan, and I think two supports that don't really make a whole lot of plays happen. I kind of need a playmaker here.
Yeah, I'm feeling the same. I'm unsure the path they're going to take, though. It's pretty hard to pick. Like a Queen of Pain, for example, is very hard to play into this lineup, right? Like you make a bad blink, you're just a goner. They do want something that's going to have some kind of momentum, or they could just go the opposite direction and just go like, I don't think I've ever seen Dusa Lycan on the same team, but sometimes when you're on the last pick and you feel like, I don't know if we can beat them mid or late game, you just do like that YOLO thing where you're like, okay, if we can get to like 50 minutes, you know, maybe we got a chance, but yeah, we'll see what happens.
I can't really think of too many other like aggressive heroes that actually work, because it's not just the Puck matchup, but also the potential for a Venomancer, like like Ember Spirit, for example. Like you can't run Ember Spirit into those heroes.
Oh, what about Razor?
Like laning
Razor's
phase.
pretty okay.
Ooh, yeah, that's not a bad idea. I haven't seen a Razor in a while, though.
Too. Yeah, that's true. People are kind of ignoring him, but I think sometimes it's important to have that hero that just wins the lane really hard and kind of like forces the enemy team to react to it. And plus, in fights, Sven is one of the only melee heroes on the team, so he'd be like the only one in there. So I guess the other option is they could go back for like the Visage. They played it the other day mid. So
what about a similar line of thought into the Razor, which is the Viper, right?
Oh,
very
Viper,
similar
yeah.
style hero, right?
Yeah, for sure. I actually forgot about that hero, so I'm glad that they actually brought it out because it is kind of going with the same philosophy as just winning the lane.
Yeah. It's not a hero that you're going to be feeling too bad about your laning phase, whether it's versus the Puck or the Venomancer. And it does look like it is going to be off-lane Veno with Forev picking it up. Though, who knows? Immortals could very easily run some sort of aggro tri-lane if they wanted to and try and get a 1v1, though I doubt it, right? It looks like Immortals want to have that matchup, the Oracle versus the Darkseer, and then we'll have a Venomancer against what I think is a pretty weak tri-lane when it comes to killing a Veno. They don't really have any kind of great combination of skills, don't really have like big time nukes and stuns to be able to close that gap. It's just a good Fissure block is pretty much it.
I think that the main emphasis that VGJ Storm have is you're absolutely right about not being able to mess with the Veno, but at the same time their cores are pretty self-sufficient. Like Darkseer, Lycan, and Viper, these heroes don't necessarily need the help in lane. You got your Feral Impulse on a Lycan, you got your regen. Darkseer, he can lane, he can go to the jungle, and 747 on the Viper, he's gonna win his lane. I mean, even if he's up against the Veno, I'm pretty sure it's fine. So regardless of how Immortals lane it, I'm pretty sure that all three of the quote-unquote cores of BTJ Storm are still gonna get something. And then out of the mid game, AA and Shaker give you so much teamfight potential just between those two heroes. So I quite like the way they did it, just picking those self-sufficient cores that don't rely on support help. And I mean, it does kind of put some pressure on Immortals to do something during the laning phase, I feel.
We see a smoke out from both sides. Dubu is going to TP out to the shrine. Only one TP from Immortals this time, as we're really getting into the next level of smoke TP out meta, where we've sometimes got 2 TPs out like we're seeing from VGJ Storm here. So the smoke pops on the Ancient Apparition, yes, but looks like Francis has been able to get himself a pretty deep ward that is going to be rather beneficial. And might have, depending on what Febby saw, just faked out a ward on that high ground. As Febby's pinging it out pretty heavily, so we may see a sentry put in the wrong spot.
It's kind of a guessing game, like this early. If you don't see the other person's smoke break, or you see it but you don't see a ward, or you do see a ward, it's just annoying. A lot of the time, it's just luck.
What, have you seen this build before on Febby? I've always kind of wondered, like, what do I do when I don't want boots and I want Stout Shield instead on my Night Stalker, which I think is fairly common. What do I do with that little bit of extra gold? And oftentimes I just kind of hold on to it, just like save like 100 gold or something and go for the boots a little bit faster. But here he's got the triple mango build.
I like it, actually. It's good on the heroes that have a good amount of mitigation. Gonna be a little bit of trading here at the top bounty.
They may have taken off the Ion Shell, but they can't really fight into 3 heroes with Chilling Touch, and you could see how low QO drops. They do get one more swing in with that Chilling Touch, and rather healthy amount of damage being done to QO. So nice pressure already being done by this unlikely support duo. Ancient Apparition and Earthshaker. We'll see what else they can accomplish, because that is a big thing, right? When you say, hey, you've got cores that are very self-sufficient, it means the supports have the, oh god, what's happening with Febby? He's just like not moving.
Sure, man, he's got 6 health regen, don't worry about it.
So oh, is it? Oh yeah, the support, like you free up the supports and now it's on them to try and find different plays around the map.
Yeah, I think they want to play it a little bit more greedy on the Shaker, though. Like, I don't know what he can really do in regards to getting a kill on a lane. But at the same time, if his cores don't need help, I feel like this is one of those games where, outside of just throwing fissures in mid, which Flea's currently doing, you can pretty much just pull if you want. Currently, they're prioritizing Stanking on the A. He's just kind of chilling bottom, but I don't really think there's a lot of pressure for him to make huge plays. If he gets a good fissure, then that's just icing on the cake. Getting the Blink Dagger timing down is probably more important for him than securing lanes.
Continues those harassment fissures. Just the Viper always follows up with a couple of right clicks. You can see 747 wants to remain pretty active and pretty healthy in this lane, popping a very early healing salve just to heal up like 300 damage, just to make sure that he can continue to lay out those right clicks and bring these heroes lower and lower. As the
Febi's already out of tangos.
Start doing its work.
Yeah, between just the auto attacks, like breaking the regen, getting a couple of right clicks here and there, like he's just winning the lane by sitting on the other side of the river and hitting Q. Like it's pretty annoying because the Night Stalker can't really close the distance. He can't walk over there and throw out a void to break the clarity if he's standing that far away. Plus he has boots, so I don't even know how you catch him at this point.
Forev, a little lucky there. Manages to get the last hit on the big creep off of his Poison Sting rather than an actual right click. But he seems to be doing rather well in his lane, 8-0, versus the Lycan, who's 11-1. Again, this Ancient Apparition, just not really enough to shove Forev out entirely. In fact, they may even be able to get a kill here with Febi sitting on the side. He's got a double damage, too. So with the combination of their two slows, Ancient Apparition really would not last long under that onslaught.
Oh, they know, though. He's sitting in the trees. Okay, they're just going to go for Ritsu instead. It's a harder kill.
Yeah, it'll at least be some free damage if they fail to get the kill, but it looks like they might be able to here. Another slow comes out, and they're just going to be able to right-click him down. Now, Forev's dropped a little bit low, but he still turns around, gets another Poison Sting onto Stan King, and Febi will be the one to dole out the damage.
That was a really fortunate rune. Without a DD, there's no way they can get that kill.
Yeah.
He did so much damage to him, and he almost even got to tower range, even with the DD. I think that it wore off like on the last auto, but yeah, that was very fortunate for Immortals.
And Boots gonna be picked up before nighttime for the Night Stalker, so definitely feels like everything's going pretty well for Immortals, especially when I look over at Snake King and see him at 6-1 in CS. Now his experience is still going fine, he's just not getting those Ion Shell kills for obvious reasons.
He'll be able to catch up on farm, I think. If he gets to level 5, gets a Soul Ring, he can just go to the jungle. And then at that point, the Oracle has to decide, do I really want to follow this guy around, or do I want to get something for myself? And I think that's kind of the point where, you know, Sneaking will catch up on his farm.
Yeah. 4-minute mark is coming up, so I'll have to keep an eye on how our Night Stalker is going to fare. Mid MP is currently 15-5 compared to the Viper's 22-7. He was harassed so much in lane that it would be rather surprising if he was anywhere close to the same CS as the Viper.
It's actually not too big of a discrepancy, like, given how many... I think he got fissured like 4 or 5 times.
Yeah.
And one of the fissures even broke his salve. So that considered, I think the MP is doing a pretty okay job.
It seems like Francis is not going to be leaving anytime soon, which is probably for the best, right? Nighttime, you're expecting the Night Stalker to look for that gank in mid anyway, so there's really no reason to stop this this 4th position from just chilling out at mid.
I mean, what really can they do? Like, Febi is so hesitant to walk into this. Granted, they don't have, like, vision of the high ground with a ward, but they do have the vision advantage just having the NS, and he's still not really feeling comfortable walking into this. MP doesn't have coil yet either. He probably assumes that.
Ooh, they're going to pop out for it now, but look at Francis. He's holding off on the Fissure a little bit. I think he wanted to be able to get a kill opportunity with the Ancient Apparition here, and they will get it. MP gets brought down by that Nether Toxin shot with a Howl damage as well. That was completely unexpected for the puck. He just got completely shattered by that much damage in such a short period of time.
Yeah, that Fissure. I'm pretty sure, like, he was holding on to his skill points. He had only 1 point in the Fissure and nothing else, and I think he skilled the Fissure before he cast it, so he gets that, like, extra 1/4 of a second stun duration, and obviously the bonus damage is a very nice play.
Every little bit. Definitely building up when you've got the Viper with 2 levels of Nether Toxin. Still bottom. Rev continues his pressure onto a Lycan. Is going to be caught a little bit, but will manage to make it to the trees, and nobody from VGJ dares to chase him in there, not with the wards already up. Back over to middle. We're going to go on the Viper again here now. 747 should be completely fine as he does have an infused range up. Combined with his natural magic resistance, shouldn't have any problems dealing with this 2v1.
Febi? Okay, yeah, he turns around. I was going to say, he needs to be real careful about walking to that rune. Because that was a haste, and there was no way he was going to beat the Viper to it. But everything considered, fairly even early game. I would say Immortals probably want to get more out of this, considering they have like a hard lane counter top and a Night Stalker who hasn't really been able to accomplish much in the way of rotation so far. So I feel like just in that sense alone, VGJ, even though they're behind on gold, like what their heroes can accomplish during the mid game just feels a little bit stronger to me than what Immortal supports are going to be able to do. So I'm kind of liking the early game from the Radiant.
Radiant's bottom tower is under attack.
You're not concerned about the Venomancer at all?
I mean, Veno is definitely a nuisance. Like, he's going to get what he's going to get. And I think that at this point, VGJ have kind of just conceded that, said, okay, we're not going to go down here. The Veno's just going to be a jerk. You know, Ritsu will be able to sustain. He's got the Feral Impulse level 3 now.
Yeah.
Let's just concentrate on getting farm on everyone else, because we have a mech and a pipe buyer. So we saw yesterday when Dire were playing, and they were banking on that, like, Veno doing all this magical damage and really only having that one hard hitter. It really hurt them. I don't know if it's going to be, like, exactly the same, but I'm not scared of a Veno if my Darkseer is getting some farm.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that's one of the big things, is that VGJ Storm's lineup has so much sustain from the Darkseer mech and potential pipe, and then the Viper as well as Lycan. Like, those are two cores that are naturally so tanky and pretty magic resistant as well, that Venomancer may be getting all the farm in the world, but he may not still be an effective hero going into mid game if he's just countered by items and what the cores are able to do.
Yeah, I mean, he's doing very well. Like, sitting at 40 and 4, he's up there in the top 30 of CS and getting everything he can out of the lane. But it really just boils down to, I think, the mid-game fights. When you have this kind of crazy combination of heroes like the AA, the Shaker, a Darkseer too who can throw in the vacuum, the team fight seems like if they get the initiation, Immortals are just not going to be able to recover. And a Blink Coil could certainly do the same thing, but I think it's going to be a lot harder for them to initiate like that.
Yeah. Definitely be pretty reliant on QO and what he's going to be able to follow up with that coil setup. And they're going to need that hefty amount of physical damage, and he's already rocking Mask of Madness and just clearing his way through jungle, giving up on that top lane. And Dubu ends up going down. Jesus, he caught him behind the
tier 2 tower even.
What's our net worth?
I'm definitely feeling a bit more confident about the Darkseer too. Like, sneaking the top tier 1's dead, right? Like, he's level 8 now at 8 minutes. So even with the Oracle.
A little bit of swing and the miss there from Ferev with the Gale, but now Ritsu kind of blocked in a little bit by that Fissure. Wasn't able to immediately chase down Febby and ends up giving up on the kill because of it. TPing in Darkseer. Looks like they might try and chase down this kill. Stanking's got to get out of the way for Snake King, though. Beginning to catch up. Does have the vacuum to pull him back right on top of the slow, too. So Febby, I don't think he's going to be making it out of this one, especially with the Fissure coming in. Another Surge. Snake King's completely out of mana, so he is having a hard time. Finally, one last right click will finish him off. A lot of drawing onto mid. Looks like Dubu wants to go on the Viper, but I have no idea how they plan on actually bringing this hero down unless they're going to have, like, 4 heroes mid.
This is the single hardest hero to kill, I feel. If the Shapeshift is on cooldown, I guess, you know, Lycan is a bit easier. If he has ult, maybe it's tougher. MP. Looks like he'll be fine.
No coil just yet. The Viper continues to keep that pressure on the tier 1 tower, hoping to be able to chip it down, but that's where Ferev comes in. He's now going to be the one sitting in front of this tower, trying to make sure they don't get the opportunity to take this early tier 1, and Puck will be freed up to make some rotations. Now, Ferev is a very hard kill for them to go for, but they're still going to try for it here. Slow down with a wall replica. They do have the cold feet going to go off successfully as well. Now, that's a lot of poison damage on a lot of heroes, but no real immediate follow-up there from Immortals. They're just going to have QO come in with the stun. They do manage to get the purge onto Snake King, so that'll be a 1-for-1 trade so far. Back over to bottom where they have managed to hit the coil onto Ritsu will result in another core kill. So, Immortals, that actually works out very well for them. You could see how VGJ were so hesitant to go on that Venomancer mid. You see exactly why.
Diving in Veno is ill-advised, especially when you don't have that magical damage mitigation yet. You know, Snake King was farming very well. He went from like 19 CS to 40 in the course of like 2 minutes, and then he decided to go rotate and go for a kill, you know, potentially that tower. But it's very dangerous to take these team fights when you're not really prepared. There was no Ice Blast, like Stan King just hit 6. And, you know, Flea doesn't have Echo. He's not going to have it for a little while longer, and then, you know, he'll be making his way towards his Blink. So they don't really have all the tools they need yet to go for, like, these kind of quick picks. But even just having the benefit of the Ice Blast is going to help a lot with getting that kill and it being a bit more clean, so they're not giving away any free kills when someone TPs.
And now it's a full-on ward wall from the Venomancer. Not going to be letting this mid lane push past the river anytime soon. And VGJ are probably discouraged from ganking him again. So what does VGJ do at this point in time? Because they have to know the Sven is farming up the jungle. He's getting more and more dangerous over time. Should they be worried about that? Should they be trying to make plays, go into that jungle, see if they can find the Sven? Or are you okay with them kind of playing more of a passive game right now and just kind of trading farm?
I think once your DS gets his pipe, I think that's when you ideally want to go. Because even now, they have all their ultimates. So I feel a bit more confident of VGJ Storm's ability to fight, given the fact that they do have the Echo. Granted, it's only 2 points in the Aftershock and not 3. It's still pretty devastating if you can get in and get the full round of spells off. And like we already talked about, the Ice Blast. So yeah, the supports are actually smoked together right now from VGJ, and they're making their way towards bottom.
And seem to have an idea that Darkseer would be a pretty juicy prize for Immortals to be able to pick up, but they may not be here in time. Sneaking does have the vacuum out with the wall, and here comes the Ice Blast, double kill for Snake King. That rotation comes in at a perfect time.
That fissure is juicy. That's like that's the dream. And that's what we're talking about. You know, the Ice Blast is what sets up those quick kills. It's all about how fast you can get in and how fast you can get out right now.
Oh, QO. He's actually going to be able to hit 2 with that one, but he did get the cold feet onto him before he started swinging. So, he's going to be locked up here. Oh, no, the TP out, but he's blocking in Flea. Francis has nowhere to go. Hey, he's going to be fish food for QO to gobble down on. But they do have a push coming in mid. They're beginning to make their way past the wards, so Immortals immediately start trekking back to that mid lane. Again, got to protect that mid tier 1 tower.
I really like this from Immortals. They're just... They know the longer the tier 1 mid stays up, the more time the Sven's going to have to just farm. And sure, QO has been proactive. You know, he bought the Blink before the Echo Saber. He went for the more aggressive style of play and being able to just TP, counter-initiate. I like that a lot. But he's still getting the farm. He's #1 priority in terms of getting to the mid game, having that BKB timing be fast, and, you know, whatever, if he wants to follow up with like an AC or he just goes straight for the Daedalus, the Bloodthorn. All those items just increase his effectiveness during the mid game tremendously. In the meantime, Sneaking going to be caught out here.
Yeah, I think they were kind of baiting each other. I think Darkseer was thinking, well, I can handle Febby. I've got an Ice Blast that's going to be coming in. And so with the vacuum and just some Ion Shell damage, I could probably kill him. And Febby was thinking the same as the puck was making his way across. But unfortunately, the Ice Blast kind of missed and puck got there first. So the kill does end up going to Immortals. Another loss for our Darkseer. This is 2 deaths now that is dramatically slowing down the pipe. Like, we could have pipe and we can actually have VGJ potentially taking that mid-tier 1 tower right now if it wasn't for the fact that they had that attempted mid-kill on Venomancer and now getting caught out at top.
Yeah, I think it's hard to say that he's not playing it the right way, though, because I honestly feel when you have a light gun on your team, his item timing is maybe even more important, and he doesn't even have the armlet finished yet. Like, it's 15 minutes in. I'm looking at this inventory of Ritsu, and I'm thinking to myself, he's not anywhere near where he wants to be. So you need that hero farming the dangerous spots and making those plays, because their mid is a Viper. No one else on the team can really do that, I think, except for Sneaking.
Oh, Febby runs into some heroes here and is going to be flying down. Fortunately, the Cold Feet didn't quite latch him down, but he is going to be slowed down a bit more. Looks like he'll be maybe not okay, because Francis is still here, and he did spot Febby for a second there.
That was super good. He placed that ward just to scout TPs.
He sees him now. Febby trying to juke a jive here. He does have flying in just a second here. He's got it up now, but he's not going to make it out of this Cold Feet. Not this time.
A valiant attempt. He didn't have a TP on him, or I think he would have been able to get away from there. That was a cute little play, though, dropping the ward on the high ground.
Yeah.
Question is, did he notice it? Because that's one of those situations where the NS doesn't walk high ground and you think, okay, this guy probably sees me. So I wonder if that gets dewarded.
Yeah. If it doesn't, it still serves as a great ward for MP, who's currently pushing out that bottom lane and doesn't really have too much to fear, especially when he knows that the Earthshaker probably not anywhere close to the Blink Dagger. We know he's only got 700 gold in the bank, but I think even if you were looking at it from a very pessimistic point of view from Immortals, you still wouldn't imagine he's more than 1,000 gold away from that Blink. So.
Ooh, Scan's actually going to hit here. So Immortals rotating across the map, scouting out the potential fight. Sneaking with the pipe finished. I think they wanted to go for an engagement like directly after he finished the item. Immortal's just going to dodge it though.
Forev playing in that off-lane jungle, that big advantage for the Dire side to be able to play with triple camps off of one set of wards. Meanwhile, VGJ are currently set up for another attempt on that mid-tier 1 tower. Now, Forev's already going to position himself in a couple of wards, try and slow down this push. The rest of Immortals, at least some of them, 2 are actually going to head down to bottom lane where MP's trying to take that tier 2. And then we've just got the Oracle behind the Venomancer. I really like this setup from Immortals because it means if they go on Forev, they'll be able to save him long enough for him to be able to get off his ultimate and for them to make TP rotations. And if they don't go, well, it's just wasted time where a tier 2's taken.
It doesn't even look like Immortals really care too much about defending the tower. It's just about delaying it. We're going to see the Fissure, but no pursuit so far here from VGJ. I do feel like they might have been able to defend that, but maybe they just felt like since they didn't have vision of the high ground, they were a bit hesitant. Because, you know, all it takes is that one, like, Ice Blast back into a Fissure, and we saw what happened bottom when they tried to gank sneaking that one time. It can definitely happen again.
Yeah. I feel like in many ways, Immortals have already kind of done the damage. They preserved that tower long enough that they are just 500 gold away from the BKB. And that's got to be their big timing as Immortals, right? That's when they finally start taking the first step in forcing these fights.
Yeah, they don't have much of an answer for Sven BKB. I guess you can Viper Strike him. Oh, they're going to catch Febby here.
Febby slowed down to a halt. 8-5 now as VGJ Storm do pick up that kill, but still a little bit behind in both gold and experience.
But yeah, in regards to the Sven BKB, it is definitely a really strong timing for QO. And I would expect them to try to at least take 1 or 2 engagements once it's finished. Just because that 9 or 10-second timing is so good. And he's very far ahead of the Lycan at this point. Like, Ritsu just has the Armlet, doesn't even have Mask of Madness done.
Yeah, it kind of feels like once they have that BKB, then it's kind of got to be VGJ who takes a step back until they get Blink Dagger on Francis. And then if they have Blink, then they could probably, as long as they get the initiation, win the fight. Simply because that combination is so strong, right? The Earthshaker with the his full Wombo combo and then the Ice Blast to follow it up.
Their team fight's definitely going to be better. Unless the puck somehow lands like a ridiculous coil that results in a Sven like multi-hitting the team. That's always a possibility as well. But in regards of ease of execution, I still favor VGJ Storm and like their mid-game team fight potential with the Blink Dagger on the Shaker. That is, to me, far and away the strongest thing in the game for either team in regards of fighting.
Okay, so you've got the BKB. Both teams know it, obviously, as we see this Wolf just kind of chilling out on QO at all times. Immortals have not made an immediate move for anything. No attempt at going for that mid-tier 1, no attempt for Roshan or anything like that. Is that to their advantage? Is that the way that this game kind of plays out? Is it to their advantage to play this a longer game, basically?
I think Roshan's just a death trap for either team. I like one side you have the Veno ulti and a Blink BKB Sven with the puck. That's terrifying if you don't have like immaculate vision around the pit. And then you have a Blast and a Blink Shaker now. So I think both teams are just really scared to walk into that area without something else happening beforehand. I don't know if it's like comfortability going into the late game as much as it is Rosh is just really hard to kill.
Oop, double blink in. They are going to be able to get the stun on a Snake King. Unfortunately, the coil didn't land on Stan King, and that means he is going to be able to get off the Ice Blast. But a BKB pop by QO turns around, helps his allies out with Ritsu, who's going to try and go to the backline and deal with the supports, but that just means the Viper's going to come in from the other side, start going on Dubu. Mortals are kind of being push-pulled around all over the place. They are going to start going on a 7-7. Buddy, push him down the cliff. QO is way down out there, and they desperately need his physical damage to be able to deal with that Viper. Forev forces Ritsu back, but now has to deal with Snake King, who's going to try and get in front of Forev. Slowed down by the wards, though, is going to have a problem there. Back over Stan King. Looks like he was picked up by MP. And Ferev does have a force forward. Vacuum back, though. Still trying to slow down and get this kill on Ferev. Snaking's diving in way deep for it. And now QO's here, but he doesn't want to be anywhere close to that Viper, especially now that God's Strength is down. So they don't attempt any sort of counter kill on that Darkseer. Just make sure that Ferev gets out. It's going to be VGJ who walk away, I gotta guess, relatively happy with that team fight.
Yeah, that was a 10-second BKB, and they killed an AA. Like, that's not really what you want, I think. Oh, no, wait, he bought back on sneaking. Never mind. Okay, so maybe it was okay for Immortals to use a 10-second BKB like that. If they get a really good fight, like 2 or 3 heroes down for like 30 seconds, they can just take Rosh. And I think if the fight had gone even more favorably for them in that situation, they would have. But the big downside is, now that they know the BKB's down, or well, it's up now, but it was down for a little while longer, they're just going to go straight in to the Rosh pit. I mean, they have vision on the opposite side of the high ground, and they walk through Shrine side, so I think that Immortals know, but they might be too late.
If they do attempt to contest here, they may be running into a Blink Echo Slam now. Francis actually went into the pit to try and help his team do it a little bit faster, and they are going to be able to do it before Ferev gets there. What a great vacuum from Snake King. 4-man pushed in, but no immediate follow-up. They're going to go for Stan King first. Managed to take him out. QO now goes for Francis, who's going to be able to take him out as well. Blinks over to Snake King immediately, but has to deal with 747. Otherwise, he's just going to be kited around. The other 2 supports are going to go for Snake King and finish him off, leaving 747 for last, but QO is going to die under the onslaught of damage that comes out from that Viper. They're trying to fight up against Ritsu right now between both Febby and MP. They do have the magic damage to be able to chase him away, but Febby, on a sliver of HP, could actually just die from wolves if he's not careful. Oh, 747 is actually able to blink forward and stay on top of the puck. Meanwhile, Ferev managed to finish off Ritsu with the last little bit of poison damage, and he'll get 747 as well, taking down that Aegis. MP will survive through it all, unless clipped by the Ice Blast? No, doesn't actually hit it, but Fleet, he's here to be able to get it, finish him off with the help of Stan King. 13-11. VGJ do indeed get that Aegis and win the fight as a result.
Man, that was a scrappy fight. Ritsu messed up his armlet toggle there at the end too. A little bit unfortunate. Might have been able to live through that. I think he was far enough away to not get auto-attacked again. But the big thing here, and this is going to be a consistent theme throughout the game here for Immortals, is those BKB charges on Sven, crazy important. Like, they always need to get something big.
Oh, he's going straight for 747. Does pop the BKB just before the Fissure. Now the follow-up slow. Here comes out from the Purge. Snaking is here, though, to be able to provide a surge and an extra movement speed to 747, but it doesn't look like it's necessary as QO's in serious trouble. Dubu does have the ultimate. So they're not going to be able to immediately kill him as there goes the Echo Slam, but the saving grace comes out from Dubu just in time. No, QO actually blinking forward. He knows he's probably dead. He's just trying to get on top of 747, but can't even do it. He gets forced away once again by that Hurricane Pike, and VGJ are just running over Immortals in this first game.
747 has played such a good Viper. He holds his Hurricane Pike until the BKB is down on Sven every single fight. He did it when they fought on like that high ground area near the Radiant Ancients. He forced that to Sven to the low ground. He did it again when they fought for Roche. Like, every single time he uses that pike, it just crushes QO. Like, there's nothing he can do after he gets kind of Hurricane piked away. And even with the use of like getting the free blink during the false promise, because obviously you don't take damage, so you get to blink whenever you want. He goes farther in. Like, he doesn't retreat. He just goes, I'm dead anyway. I want to try to get something out of it, but it just unsuccessful.
This Viper just seems so tanky. I mean, not just the magic resistance, but also he's got a hefty amount of armor. It really doesn't look like he's losing that much HP to every single one of Sven's, you know, God Strength hits.
Yeah, just wait until he hits 25. I mean, he's level 20 right now, Cap, and it's 25 minutes into the game. That's bonkers. If he gets to 25 and he gets that 20 armor talent, that's Sven. I don't even think you can attack the Viper at that point. I think you have to, like, hope that you're cleaving him or something to deal damage.
25 minutes in, VGJ, they hold a rather small net worth lead. They're actually still down in experience, but it definitely feels like they're winning the game pretty handedly after 2 nasty fights for Immortals, and not really a clear way for them to start winning fights after this BKB has gone through pretty unsuccessfully.
Yeah, the chain of initiation for Immortals is very important. They need the puck to get in and land a coil so that QO can hit stuff. Every fight is just, he pops BKB, the Viper Strike goes on him, so he's not allowed to just have free reign. and then after the BKB wears off, he gets Force, and then he is no longer able to hit heroes during that team fight.
Heading out for Forev. Now Forev does manage to pick up an Arcane Rune. Pretty timely, as he's probably going to have to blow his ultimate here. They're actually going to go for Francis first. QO is going to deal with that initiator and will manage to finish him off. Now Forev's going to be saved here by Dubu, and he is going to be finally forced into using his ultimate, but only on a Viper. That's not really what he wanted. Oh, Force tapped over and is actually going to be able to survive. I thought surely that 747 had pumped enough physical damage into Forev that they would have gotten that kill, but looks like just about 300 or 400 shy of being able to claim it. And all that really turns out is a kill onto Francis Lee, the Earthshaker.
He's built really tanky on the Venom. He's got the Pipe already, the Solar Crest, and a Force. It's without True Strike during the False Promise, it's very hard to just beat someone down through that bonus mischance. Doesn't seem like a lot. Makes a huge difference, though.
Dubu. Gonna be run down here. Vacuumed back. Now 747 isn't quite there to be able to get the shots. Finally he does. Slowing down Dubu. And with no mana and no ultimate, no hope of escape for Dubu. Now NP's just chilling out by this tier 3. Hoping to be able to catch somebody who defends this push and does manage to get Flea here, but Flea is so damn tanky. Not sure if he's got, yeah, he's got the 10 strength and everything, so NP by himself, not nearly enough burst damage to be able to deal with them, but now maybe with the help of Febby, Flea certainly wasn't expecting this, a return with an extra hero coming out, but they do have Snake King here now with his extra bit of sustain. There's nothing really for Flea to fear here. Ice Blast coming in. Vacuum back into it, and the Echo Slam. That was beautifully set up by VGJ Storm. They are getting some serious revenge on Immortals right now.
This Shaker has played amazingly well. I mean, he had that little maybe lapse in judgment when he decided to go into the Roche Pit. Probably would have resulted in a cleaner fight if he had been outside of it. But barring that, I just think like Francis has had an outstanding performance. He still had a under 20-minute Blink Dagger, I recall, after getting the Arcanes and kind of sitting mid for the first few waves, not really playing greedy at all, just protecting the Viper and making sure that 747 had that good start. And since then, his Fissures, you know, his Echoes, they've all pretty much resulted in teamfight wins.
Yeah. Does anything really start changing for Immortals? Like what items? Because the way I see it is like QO's, he gets an upgrade, right? He's gonna get this Daedalus. That's a big upgrade. But we've already talked about how the Viper's also just gonna be getting bigger and tankier. Do you think that the Sven starts outpacing the sustain and armor that's gonna be racking up on VGJ?
I do think that he can do enough damage to kill. The question is, how often is he going to be able to hit stuff? I think he even might want to consider Linken's after the Daedalus is done, just so that during that BKB, he gets the guaranteed uptime and at least a few auto attacks.
Yeah.
And I think the other important part of it is the Aghanims being finished here on MP. He just started the item progression, but that item makes such a big difference when you walk out of the coil and you're stunned for 4.5 seconds. That's a huge amount of time for QO to have that damage output, and that's really kind of what they're struggling with. We saw this the other day. The Venos seemed pretty weak because once Pipe is out and once the Mechanism is out, he just can't really do enough damage on his own to get kills. He needs someone else to do the heavy hitting, and the problem with that is the Sven just isn't able to attack. So between having the Daedalus done, that ensures that once you do connect, you're going to deal significant damage, and then once the Puck Aghanims is finished, then you have your vessel to be able to hit stuff.
Double force forward onto Forev. Slow him down a bit. They are going to throw out that Viper Strike onto him. Now Dubu's sitting on the trees here, and QO is going to pop out, and he goes straight for Stan King. Managed to get him before the Ice Blast. Oh no, it actually did complete anyway. But looks like that's it. There weren't any heroes really close enough to be able to follow that one up. They're actually going to go for Forev here. Ritsu forces out the commitment there from Dubu. Now the Echo Slam combination with the Vacuum. Beautifully set up on QO. A big hit onto 2. Still managed to finish him off with the Ritsu. MP hits a beautiful coil. Now they just have to deal with a big monster that is 747. They're dealing with everybody else. But can they bring down this big bad Viper? He's going to force staff himself a little bit farther away. QO is low on mana, but will finally catch up to the Viper and will manage to get the crit to finish him off. Ultra kill for QO off of that one. And I swear to God, Draskell, every single time we cast Immortals, it looks pretty dark at around 20 to 25 minutes, and then something just clicks for them in the mid-game, and they start winning team fights.
Yeah, that's just literally the difference between being able to attack and not being able to attack. I'm pretty sure that 747 didn't get his ultimate off on the person that he wanted to, because they committed onto someone else besides QO. He was able to sit out and then find an opportunity to jump in, hits two heroes with a cleave, and just like instantly kills them both. That's how fights kind of need to start. If they continually start that way, then sure, Immortals can run away with it. But the problem continually has been VGJ just kite him, and then once the BKB's down, between like the Earthshaker fissures, getting hit with poison attack, even just Ice Vortex being on the ground, it's a nightmare for QO to continually get damage output once his magic immunity is dissipated. So I'm feeling like those are the types of fights that Immortals want. The one where QO is not the main target and he's able to jump in a little after, and then he can do some serious work.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like what's been happening, like what have Immortals done right that they've successfully gotten VGJ to initiate on Ferev, of all heroes, twice in a row. Like we had that bottom fight as well as this mid one, and the same thing happened.
Yeah, you could argue that it's just a bad call from VGJ to go on a Veno like that, but at the same time, when you feel like you're ahead, you know, it's very similar to what they did yesterday when they played against each other. I felt like VGJ were fighting extremely well, and then all of a sudden they get a little bit confident and they make a couple of mistakes. They're going on the wrong hero or pushing when they might need to farm a bit more, and then Immortals just seem to punish them for it.
You know, the funny thing is that they should always be able to have the vision to know what's happening with Immortals, because I've seen these wolves mostly go uncontested through the jungle area. Like, this is one of the first times that I've seen a wolf actually die to a sentry setup by Immortals. So most of the time they've had pretty good vision, but just these last two team fights, and potentially a third, as Immortals may be the one to be able to get the initiation. They have a 3-man smoke up, with QO showing himself up there at the top lane. Now, Ferev's actually going to go forward, manage to get his ultimate onto 2, Snake King and 747, but they do have a Shrine up. This is not really a fight that Immortals should be taking at all. Managed to get the coil onto 3, so MP will slow down any turn back here from VGJ. Febby is going to be slowed down here, trying to get the trees. Will trying to go fly over them. QO is finally going to make his entrance, and it's to the south where he catches Flea. That's a big one. Now comes out of the trees to go on the rest of VGJ, but is going to be slowed down by the Viper Strike. That's been the big problem, but fortunately they are getting him close enough to snaking. Whoa, bam! 1,400 damage, and he brings down the Darkseer, and now here comes the save from Double onto Ferev, with MP going on to Sand King, and the big baddie QO going straight for 747. He will claim that life, and MP will chase down Stan. So Immortals winning yet another engagement. I can't believe how wonky that all started, with them being so close to the Shrine and everything, but it still turns out perfect for Immortals.
Well, the coil from MP didn't result in anything, right? It basically made them pop the Shrine, and maybe after the fact they thought it was, you know, okay, we shrined up, there's no coil, let's go in. But QO catches out the Shaker. Shaker doesn't even get a fissure off, he just dies. That hero is insanely important during the mid game. We talked about how their supports are the ones who are supposed to be winning in the team fights. QO just, like, I don't know how he knew he was there, but he knew. Maybe it was a Plague Ward or something like that. I don't actually recall how he spotted him. But just spotting him out and taking him down with the BKB charge is plenty. Because at that point, that's pretty much all of the disable that VGJ had dead. It's just the Shaker.
And next thing you know, they're up 2 lanes of Raxus.
Yeah, that was a no buyback moment. It's crazy to me how the game can be seemingly so one-sided when VGJ is executing well. Like when Francis is able to stay alive long enough to get that echo, to get the fissure. But as soon as he's the first one who dies, the fights just crumble. Look at QO, doesn't even care.
Yeah, picks up a regen. He was running for someone else, actually stumbles into the smoke, and Francis, unable to get off any disables before the BKB, ends up dying. Whoa! Ritsu running a little bit far there, ends up getting caught in the coil, but no chase from Immortals just yet. But with the Earthshaker down for 30 seconds, it's certainly a possibility, though Roshan is up, and that would be a great prize for Immortals to claim at this point in the game. Then Aegis, it would seem all but inevitable that they would finish off that last lane of Rax.
Well, I do have the Wolves in the pit, so VGJ will at least have some idea of what's going on if they opt to go for it now. In the meantime, though, Immortals just feeling comfortable to push in top lane. There is one remaining tier 2. In the meantime, they're going to get the Shrine on top of that. This is a rough one, because it's really only 2 fights that's made like the biggest difference in how the game feels for VGJ. They went from being in a pretty dominant position, but they weren't really like super ahead in net worth, just because the Sven always has that relevance and flash farm. And then after just 1 or 2 bad engagements, it feels almost a complete loss at this point.
And how much Lycan have we been seeing lately? Because I'm watching this game, and part of it is the Sven, but it feels like in general he has been pretty much a non-factor in this game.
He's not really able to go in. Like, if you go in and you don't have BKB, the Oracle can disarm you. If you mistime your shapeshift and you're not able to like hit during it, you can kind of think of it as his own form of a BKB, because that's when you're the most mobile, that's when you can get the most damage output. If you get disarmed during that, and the Venomancer has a Halberd and a Solar Crest, and Warcry on top of that, plus he doesn't have a Diffusal Blade, like there's just so many ways.
Actually pushing out, they get the initiation on the backline. Dubu is actually going to be caught and forced into an ultimate on himself. Now QO has already popped his ultimate, but he couldn't get the blink forward really, but a coil, a beautiful setup one at that, is going to allow QO to be able to close that distance, and a 1900 damage crit with a double damage on QO. Cleans up that whole entire cacophony of disaster for VGJ Storm, and now he's going to come back for more. Ritsu's going to be caught as well. Force Staff over the cliff just in time, or not, for Red finishes him off with the poison. Good Echo Slam from Fleet, but it's still not enough for them to be able to finish off these heroes. QO turns and fights up against Snake King, who tries to stay ahead of QO into his wall of replica. QO will not chase that one. 747 got slowed down enough. Couldn't stay on top of these heroes. And is actually taken down pretty heavily. Perez dealing out some good damage. Oh, the vacuum over the Fissure, but it's not enough. Snake King now just one hit away. QO can't quite get it. Please, not going to be able to finish off Forev either. And MP catches Snake King to end it all. Disaster after disaster after disaster for VGJ Storm. And they collapse just like that. Immortals take game 1.
Yeah, I think you brought up a really solid point about the Lycan and like his lack of influence in the game. I don't even really know if it's his fault. He was laning against a Veno. No matter what hero you are and you're laning against a Veno, you're probably not going to have a great time. So not only that, he's counterpicked. Then they build Solar Crest Halberd and they have Oracle Disarm. He never even got to BKB. I'm fairly certain during the fights he just didn't get the hit. Like that's one of the biggest issues, is that if you're the only person on the team that you really need to worry about in a huge physical damage sense, and they just itemize against that one source of damage, that hero doesn't function. Like, how does Lycan kill a hero with a Solar Crest on and Warcry between 2 disarms without a BKB?
Right. It seems like one of those heroes that, what was it, picked up like 3rd or 4th in the draft? I can't remember.
I think he was 3rd.
Yeah, I think so too. And I guess what I'm taking away from this is that Lycan is not one of those, like, can't fail heroes. You know? Like, it's definitely one of those heroes that if you pick up, like, it definitely has to be 4th or 5th pick, because there's so many ways that you can get countered. I felt like in many ways, Lycan's supposed to deal well with Venomancer, right? Not just in lane, but he's also can't be slowed down and can run straight to that Venomancer and, like, force out the ultimate if need be. Like, that's how the way I kind of envision some of these fights going. But that never was the case, because Oracle was there to be able to provide, you know, that saving grace if needed. There was the Puck, who was locking him down pretty heavily with the coil. And then obviously he can't stand toe-to-toe with QO. So if QO ever enters into the fight and goes for Ritsu and locks him down with a Storm Hammer, like, he's just got to run. He's got to use all that mobility defensively and not offensively like you intend to.
Yeah, I think it's a really rough Lycan game. I don't know. I think they had a really good idea of what their mid-game plan could be, and how Lycan really does hit that same timing as the rest of their heroes, like the Blink Shaker, the AA, the Veno. They all kind of want to end the game at the same time, 30-ish minutes. You think to yourself, okay, well, this is when we should have our biggest advantage. But based off those 2 really big fights where QO is able to swing for the fences and get like 2 or 3 heroes down at the same time with a good crit, that's really all that can be said about a Sven game. You either get kited to death, or you get your hits off and you kill multiple heroes. And unfortunately for VGJ, they're going to fall again to Immortals here in game 1.
All right, let's see if VGJ Storm can pick themselves back up off the ground. They are currently 0-3 against Immortals in the PGL North American Close Qualifiers. We're heading into game number 4 and game number 2 of this series after a short break.